How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to Battlegrounds Game Center. I am Patrick, and today we're unboxing the new Deathrattle army set for the Soulblight Gravelords. This is my favorite Age of Sigmar army, and I was very ecstatic to see that they decided to do an all-skeleton army set, because I usually run all skeletons with my army, with a few vampires here and there, of course. So this has got some new sculpts for the White King on Skeletal Steed, an upgraded sculpt for the Grave Guard, which is now the Barrow Guard, and then the Black Knights got updated to the Barrow Knights. So we're going to take a look at this. It also comes with the Battle Tome in it, as well as the cards. So we'll check the Battle Tome, see what kind of new rules that they have for the Soulblight. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this open and take a look at it. Okay, so we got the cover, and then we got our sprue. So we've got what looks like the Barrow Guard, which is an update to the original Grave Guard. Looks like a few different parts for the bodies. Just to kind of see this a little better. We got a new flag there, some halberds, very cool. They're still in line, of course, with the Deathrattle skeletons that we currently have, but with some nice new updates, like some new helmets and everything. These are the more elite, you could say. So we got a few sprues of those, because we got quite a few in the box. I believe 20 in total. So there's another sprue there. I do like the new flag, actually. The new flags are really cool. And another sprue there. So that's 20 of the Barrow Guard. We have the new White King on Skeletal Steed. I will say this is the one thing that I was kind of sad about, because I love my original White King on Skeletal Steed. It is on a completely different base, so I'm going to have to rebase it. So then I'll have two. But the new basing for this one is really cool. It's on a circular base now instead of like an oval base, which is interesting. But yeah, you got some nice basing materials there, and it looks like it's still the same scale, so it's not any bigger than what we currently have. But so I think I'm going to rebase the old one and maybe add some like graveyard bits and stuff to kind of keep it in line with this. But very cool to see. Really pretty looking model. Looks like that's the rest of that sprue right there. So it is a new character, and then you can build it two different ways. I believe the White King and then like a general of some sort. And then, of course, we have the Barrow Knights, which are an update to the original Black Knights. So, very cool. The horses look pretty easy. Look like two parts and then like a head and tail. So, very cool. And there is the rest of the sprue right there. Very nifty. So, yeah, we'll get these all built up. And then I know that the new Spearhead you can build out of this as well. So, or you have to have a White King on foot with that, but since I'll have these bits, I can build them, and then we can play with the new Spearhead, which will be really cool. And I got another barrier, and then beautiful alt art book. Well, the box with the alt art on it, but all skeleton themed, of course. So let's get these open. I like these new boxes. I say it every single time I open one of these. I just really like them, and I will try not to rip it. There we go. I got some nice artwork there. Got the Battle Tome. Let's pull that out. Maybe. There we go. Ooh, look at that. Got a nice UV gold printing on it. So this is the first box set other than Skaven Tide that I've gotten for Age of Sigmar, because Soulblight is my main army, my favorite army. So I had to get this. And of course, being themed around Deathrattle. Can't say no to that. So we'll take a look at this in a minute. But let's look at the rest of the things in here. So we, of course, have our instruction booklet. So yeah, the White King is on an 80mm base now, which is quite a big jump up from what it used to be, which was just a 60mm ovals. So yeah, you can kind of see, got two different types of options here. Very cool, yeah. So you got the White Lord and the White King. So I'll probably end up using my old White King as a White Lord now, and then have the new White King. Or I could eventually get this and replace it. But I really like the way I painted it, so I kind of want to update it, and that way I have two different units. Very cool. Got quite a few pages. Good amount of options here for the Black Knights, or I'm sorry, Barrow Knights as they're called now. I'm going to make that mistake quite often because I'm so used to saying Black Knights. Very cool. Yeah, so I love the new flags. The new musician is really cool too, like how it wraps around him. Very cool. So yeah, quite a bit of that. And then, of course, the barrel guard. You got 4 different weapon options, it looks like. Well, one is the champion, has a mace or a sword, and then you have a sword or the halberd. And they look pretty simple to put together. I do remember them saying that these would be a lot easier than the older Deathrattle, which is really cool. But yeah, and then you get 20 of them. So there's the little instruction booklet you get. But we're not done. We also get all of the cards for the army. So I don't know what they've updated exactly for Soulblight. I haven't actually played them for a little bit, but we have the new Spearhead. So this is the first time seeing the new Spearhead rules for the Deathrattle. So we're going to take a look at that actually here in a moment, because I am very interested in that. So I believe that's, yeah, Spearhead. Okay. So I want to put those to the side because I do want to go over those since we are a big Spearhead channel, and I think going over those would be really cool. We actually just did our tier ranking list that I will have linked onto this video, so you can check that out. It's a 2-hour-long video of just talking about every Spearhead in the game currently. So I kind of wish I would have opened this before then, so we could have talked about the new Soulblight, but that's okay. We'll talk about it now. So of course we got Nagash, new prince here, Neferata. Again, I don't know if they've changed anything with their stat lines or abilities yet. I am a little sad that they went for these smaller card formats. It's fine. I mean, you just got to flip them over to see the other rules, but it's just a little different than what they've done. Awesome. Vampire Lord, Blood Knights. Okay. So yeah, cards there, and then of course we have quite a few more cards here because Soulblight is a pretty big line. They got zombies, they got skeletons, they got vampires, they got werewolves. They're kind of the catch-all for, old school horror, Hammer horror type army. Now I'm just waiting for some like Frankenstein monsters. That'd be kind of cool. Faction rules, battle formations, stuff like that. So very cool. We're not going to go too deep into all this because we got a few more things to go through, like the book, and then of course the Spearhead rules. So we'll put the cards here. And I believe that is everything for this box. Love these boxes. I should start keeping them. I haven't been keeping them, but I might start. And then, of course, the bottom, we got all the bases there that come with the box set and your big 80mm base. So it's actually not as big as I thought, but decently big. Okay, very cool. So let's actually, before, could look in the book. I don't know if the book has the Spearhead. Ooh, we got the, sorry, I'm a little ADHD right now, but you got the gold lining on the pages. Some nice art here. Showcase the Flooded Kingdom. Ooh, I like the arts or the paint scheme for them. I will of course stick with my current paint scheme that I have, which is kind of like a mix and match of different colors, because I like the idea of them being, from different kingdoms, so they would all have different armor types and clothing and stuff like that. So Neferata. So going over all the different characters in the book here. Sakar is one of my favorites. She's a newer character that they recently made a model for. There's their bookmark. It's a nice black bookmark. The Virkos, which is more like the werewolf style of vampires. We've got the new zombie dragon that'll be coming out soon. I will definitely be getting one of those. And then they have Vampire Lord on, zombie dragon. So they got the True Blades there, which I think might have been like a Warcry or Underworld's team. So they're probably in the book now. So I got the White King, very, very cool. And then we have the different faction rules. So so they have new terrain as well. The Cursed Sepulchres, or Sepulcher, whatever. And then they finally have some of their own spells too. So they look really cool. I like the visuals of them. I haven't looked too much into how they work. I don't think they're like overly powerful, but they're good utility pieces, just kind of like the Sepulchres as well. Kind of like for I think they can work as terrain pieces for under the graves and stuff like that. So very cool. I'll probably get some of these just for the terrain in general, but also can use them in the army. And then we have the rules. So the faction rules, the war scrolls. Yeah, Spearhead is in here, so we might just look at the Spearhead in the book. And then we have the faction rules. So you got your ancient burial sites where you can, yes, if there is a cursed sepulcher on the battlefield, you can set up 2 additional ones. You have the unquiet dead, which is they are in the grave, so they'll come out later, kind of like a reserves, but they can kind of come out around different pieces of terrain for more flexibility. Rising Dead, which works with the sepulcher. I think I'm saying that right. But probably not. I mean, you can make fun of me in the comments. That's fine. Then we got Deathly Invocation here, which is still the same, I believe, where you have different things like healing. Endless Legions to bring guys back. And then the Hunger for all the vampires so they can heal whenever they do damage or when they use a fight ability. So very cool. And then we have our battle formation. So this is what I was interested in to see if any of these changed. Mainly Death March, because I didn't really like it originally. So add 1 to the rend characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Deathrattle units that charge in the same turn for attacks that target a unit that has fewer models. I still don't like it. That's one of the issues with the Deathrattle, of course, is they don't really have rend. So in the stipulations here, to have to charge a unit that is smaller than you, sure, you could have 20 skeletons in a unit, and more than likely you'll get rend that way. But you have to charge. That's the one thing about it that I don't like. I think if it was just attacking a unit that has less models than you and you just get 1 rend, that'd be cool. But having the charge to kind of, I don't know. It's not as good. I'll probably still use the Bacchanal of Blood, using a few vampires like Neferata and Sakar, just because you get +1 to your casting rolls and add 1 to wound rolls for combats and stuff like that. So this one is still probably my favorite one. So I am a little sad that this didn't get updated or that we even have a new one. But I know that's one of the big things with the Battle Tomes right now is, for the most part, they're pretty much the same as the index, just with a few little changes here and there, maybe some additions. But so yeah, and then we have the heroic traits, artifacts, power. So we're not going to go through all of this because it's probably mostly the same. And then you got your new manifestation lore, I believe you can, and spell lore and all that. So very cool. Then we go into the data sheets or the war scrolls. So yeah, again, we're not going to go through all these, but you can kind of get an idea what's in the book, how they look. So no photos for them. Interesting. So yeah, Revenant Drakifnif. I don't know if any of the rules about that changed, but the art has and the model has. So you got Vargeist, Blood Knights, the True Blades here, which I don't believe were in the index. They might have been, but Deathrattle, of course. You got the White Lord on Skeletal Steed, so he's a little bit new. So he's got add 1 to the charge rolls for friendly Deathrattle cavalry units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. And then Royal Companions, Hero Deathrattle Cavalry unit that has not been used to fight disability this turn. When this unit's combat range to a turn, they're going to use to fight. Okay, so you can tell other cavalry units to fight. So that's kind of like the old White King. That's pretty much all the same abilities there. And then this one is the newer one, the new White King. So he has new abilities, Ancient Barrow Curse. So if an attack made with this King's relic weapon scores a critical hit, the target unit becomes cursed for the rest of the battle. Subtract 1 from save rolls for cursed units. Hilarious. I love it. And then Immortal Conqueror, pick an objective or terrain feature within enemy territory for the rest of the turn. Add 1 to hit roll for attacks made by friendly Deathrattle units while they're wholly within 6 inches of that. That's pretty cool. So you can definitely gang up on one part of the board if your enemy is by a certain piece of terrain. You're just like, okay, go towards that terrain and attack them there, make them better. So yeah, so that he's technically the newest one here. And then the White Lord looks like it took the rules of the original White King. So very cool. And Barrow Guard, Barrow Knights, they still give a 5-up ward when they're by Gravelords Infantry Hero. So that's the same as the Grave Guard. And then the Barrow Knights, pretty much the same, yep. So yeah, no big changes there. I don't think there's any changes in the stats as well, so very cool. And then zombies. I actually need to get zombies. I don't have zombies. I have all skeletons. So maybe I should get some zombies. And then there's, of course, their spells here, or their manifestations and how they work. and then their terrain piece. Very, very cool. However, I really want to look at the Spearhead army here. So it comes with a White King on foot, unit of Barrow Guard, unit of Barrow Knights, and Deathrattle Skeletons. So you got 2 units of Deathrattle Skeletons, Barrow Guard. Okay, so quite a few models. I think more models, technically more models than the other Soulblight one, but that one you have a Vampire and Blood Knights, which is really nice. So there's painting them. Okay, so that's just going over the Spearhead army. And then we have the rules. Okay, so you get a White King, you get 10 Barrow Guard, 5 Barrow Knights, and 2 units of 10 Deathrattle Skeletons. That is a ton of skeletons. So with this box and what I already have, like, we're ready to go with this Spearhead. So we'll do a video with them, and they're already painted. So we got Unquiet Dead. One of your Deathrattle Skeleton units is not set up during deployment phase. Instead, from the 3rd battle round onwards, it can have the following ability. Set this unit up anywhere on the battlefield wholly within 3 inches of a battlefield edge and more than 6 inches from all enemy units. So a turn 3 deep strike, but it has to be within 3 inches of battlefield edge, so a little bit more restrictive than some of the other ones. And then once per turn, your army during any combat phase, Aura of Antiquity. Pick an enemy unit in combat with any friendly units to be the target. Roll a die. On a 3-up, subtract 1 from the Ren characteristic of that target's melee weapon until the start of your next turn. So makes them a little survivable. One specific unit can be pretty survivable during any combat phase, so each turn. And then we have regiment abilities. So you have choice of 2 of them, Overwhelming Hordes or Death March. So Hordes is, it's a passive effect. Add 1 to wound rolls for combat attacks made by friendly non-hero units that target a unit that has fewer models than the attacking unit. So kind of a play on their main army rule, except for it's a +1 to wound rolls instead of getting rend. I almost kind of like that more, in all honesty, because you don't have to charge. So I actually think I like this more than their actual army rule. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But then we got Death March. Pick a friendly non-hero unit that is not in combat. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to the target's move characteristic and add 3 to its control score. That's cool. I like this one more. I mean, this one is good for if you're going to try to play the objective game. So depending on how well they do at the objective game, maybe this is one you go after always. But if you want to try to get rid of stuff, this one's actually not too bad. And then we have our enhancements. So we have the blade here, the Ren characteristic of your generals. 2, probably instead of 1. So that's a pretty typical one you see for generals in Spearhead. And then you got Stolen Animus. Each time your general scores a critical hit, it heals 2. Your general after the attack ability has been resolved, so that's cool. So some healing, which is really nice to see. And then Propelled by Hate, pick another friendly unit wholly within 12 inches of your general to be the target. You can reroll charge rolls, not too bad. And then Soul Draining Pendant. Once per battle, any combat phase, pick an enemy unit in combat with your general to be the target. On a 2-up, they have Strikes Last, which can be very... I mean, that can win you a game depending on when you use it, of course. It is a once per game ability, so I don't know. I actually kind of like the healing one, just because then that way I could just throw the general up and hope he does some work. I'll have to look at his war scroll to see how good he is. But so yeah, those are the rules for the Deathrattle Tomb Host. I like it. It's very on theme for them. So we'll have to see how it plays and then look at their rules here, their war scrolls. So we got the White King, they aim 4 inches, 4 inches. So yeah, they would be 5 inches then with that other regiment ability, which would be nice. So because 4 inches is pretty small, even in Spearhead is pretty low. So we got Baneful Tomb Blade, 5 attacks, 4/3, 1/2, crit mortal, which is always good to see. That right there puts him up there. King of Shambling Bones, you could pick a Deathrattle unit within 12 on a 2-up, add 1 to hit rolls for the combat attacks made by that target. So with him in conjunction with that other regiment ability, they could have +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which is awesome. Like one specific unit, you'd probably use it on the Barrow Guard here, which, speaking of, they have 4-up save, 1 control. All of these, of course, have 6-up wards. However, while the general is within this unit's combat range, so at 3 inches, both them and him get a 5-up ward. So this, this is a Death Star, like a little mini Death Star. He'll give them +1 to hit. If you have that regiment ability, they have +1 to wound, so then they'd be wounding on 3s, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. With crit mortals, both of them having crit mortals is amazing. Even the Barrow Knights have crit mortals, so this right here, the crit mortals, is awesome. That is really cool. That really puts this one up towards the top, in my opinion, already. So then we got the Barrow Knights. So they got the Barrow Lance, 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, rend 1, 1 damage, crit mortal, and damage +1, or in charging +1 damage. So if you charge, those mortals are 2 damage instead of 1. And then you got the Skeletal Teeth, which is whatever. Although sometimes they do pretty good work. And then Curse to Rise once more. You can return 1 slain model to this unit, so great recursion. As long as you have at least 1 model left. During the end of any turn, 1 will come back. End of the next turn, another 1 will come back. So they just keep coming back as long as you don't wipe the unit. And then we have our Deathrattle Skeletons, which are probably, they're the exact same. 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, winning on 4s, no rend, 1 damage. And then you can return D3 slain models at the end of any turn. It used to be during the combat phase. I think that's how it is still in the other one. I'd have to double check. So that is a little bit of a nerf there, because then you don't get to bring models back before you fight. But 5 up save, 6 support. So, but you get 2 units of 10 of them. So they're just meant to go around, get your objectives and stuff. So yeah, I'm liking the Spearhead. I am excited to try it out. I think it'll be a really cool one. So there's no real spells, but I mean, technically there's kind of spells, with the hero phase ability on him. And one right here as well. So now that is only 1, so that Death March is actually just once per turn. 1 unit, but you can do it on your enemy or your opponent's turn too. So I don't know. I'd have to really think about how I would want to play them, but I think this one has a good contender to being higher up on our list as far as like competitive nature goes. So very cool. So and then the rest of the book, it just goes over the path to glory. So if you play narrative, you got all that right there. So yeah, that is the Soulblight Gravelords Battle Tome from the Deathrattle army set. You get your cards, get the book, get the models. So very cool box set. I am very excited to play with them, build them. I think they'll be a pretty easy build and paint because skeletons. And I have a pretty good, I've locked it down pretty well on how quickly I can get those out. So we'll definitely be doing a Spearhead video with them very soon. Maybe if I finish my cities, we can have cities go against them. That'd be kind of cool. But if you guys enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Patrick at Battlegrounds Game Center. See you later.